My name's Annamaria Pinter, and I would just like to share with you some thoughts about my experiences of working on drafting and redrafting a paper for academic publications. I work at the Department of Applied Linguistics at Warwick, and I have published many papers. And today in this video, I'm just talking about single-authored papers. So I often start by just an idea about a possible paper. Maybe it's in relation to a project I'm working on, or maybe it's not even an empirical paper. It's just an idea for a position paper that I have. So I start by writing down all my ideas. I don't wait until I have a full paper beautifully planned out in my head. Then I begin to think about which journal this paper might be suitable for, and I search on the internet for various journals. Of course, I know a lot of journals, but there are a lot of new journals out there all the time. I also often ask my colleagues which journals they might recommend. I follow some of my colleagues to see where they publish. So once I've decided on the journal, then I familiarize myself with the journal if I don't know it really well already, read articles in the journal, and try to understand how the articles are structured, how the bibliography is presented, how the sections of a paper are presented, how much emphasis they put on the length of the literature review and things like that. So once I've decided I want to aim for a particular journal, I tend to really be conscious of this and start working on my own draft, trying to resemble the papers in that journal. So I'm trying to write exactly as long as that journal requires, and taking into account all the formal and academic criteria that I can detect. I do a lot of reading while I write. I enjoy going away for a few days and just do the reading and then come back to writing. I redraft my papers many, many times. And when I'm reasonably happy with the draft, I tend to keep that draft, even if I move on to a new draft, because you never know, later on you might want to come back to something that you wrote weeks or months before. I try to give my draft, once it's readable, to as many colleagues as possible, because you can always learn something from other people's feedback. Even if you don't agree with the feedback, it's very, very useful, because you sort of need to get into the head of the reviewer and need to understand why they're raising this point or why they're asking this question. And in your next draft, you need to try and position that paragraph or section of the paper in a way that that type of question doesn't arise anymore. I like to keep to some discipline when I write. So some people find it useful, for example, to write every day, find an hour every day to write. I don't tend to be able to do that because of other commitments. What I do like doing is take a day, and for example, before COVID times, I used to enjoy sitting in a cafe. Sometimes I sit there for 4 hours with just one drink, and I can be extremely productive in those 4 hours. I don't know what it is. It's something about having to sit in one place and having no distractions whatsoever. But I think everyone needs to find their own discipline with the process. But equally, you also need time away from writing. Sometimes when you feel you hit the wall, the best thing to do is just to take some time away from it and maybe revisit it a couple of weeks later. So that's all I can share about my experience. I hope it's useful.